Hello, Tech Pros, episode 187.
Welcome to the podcast where I chat with professionals who are getting the job done using technology 7 days a week. Each week, we start with Motivation Monday. Tuesday is about productivity, Wednesday, leadership, Thursday, technology, Friday, people and communication, Saturday, entrepreneurship, and Sunday, being unplugged. All right, let's get started.
Hello, Tech Pros. This is Chad Bostic, and I'm excited to be here on Friday. Happy Friday. It's the weekend coming up, the downhill slide to the weekend, and we are just a few hours away from Saturday and Sunday. I know you're excited. I'm excited. Everybody's excited because we all love weekends. Why do we love weekends so much? Sometimes it's because we're struggling with our jobs. Sometimes it's because we're struggling in our careers. We grind, work so hard throughout the week, and it just doesn't seem like anything's paying off. Sometimes we're working so hard for so little achievement. And by that, I don't mean that we're not making a salary. By that, I don't mean that we're afraid of getting laid off. I just mean that we're not growing ourselves. We're not growing our careers anymore like we used to be a while back. So that's why I created this 7-day course. We're right in the middle of it, or right starting to be towards the end of it. A free 7-day course on how to launch your career into hyperspace through my Career Hyperdrive course. And in case you haven't logged on Monday through Thursday, here's what you missed so far. You've missed a lot of really awesome content about getting unstuck in your career. We talked about the motivation that you'll need to overcome your biggest career obstacles. We talked about productivity tips that'll help you crush it at work without killing your personal life. God, I've done that. We talked about leadership, specific leadership training that will build your respect and influence across the organization without needing to move into a management track. Like I say all the time on Leadership Wednesdays, you don't have to be a manager to be a great leader. And then yesterday, we talked about a technology mastery blueprint that I put together that will help you guide it'll help guide you through the process of selecting the right technology for the right problem every single time. And then today we're talking about one of my favorite topics here on People Friday on Hello Tech Pros, and that is how to build relationships. Specifically on today's episode, how to break into those elite inner circles at work without looking like a total dirtbag, or as some people say, complete douchebag. We don't want to do that. I have felt so many times over my career that I was stuck. I was in my position. My position was defined by the role that I had in the organization, and I could never get unstuck from that. And I saw all these other people who were honestly just not as technical as me. They were not as good as software developers, in my opinion, as I thought that they needed to be. And yet somehow, for some reason, their careers were skyrocketing. Their careers were launching, their careers were taking off, and it made me, at the time, really just pissed off. I was pissed off at the situation, I was pissed off at my boss, I was pissed off at these other employees, but more than anything, I was pissed off at myself, and I kept saying, why am I not good enough? Why can't I do what these folks are doing? And when I looked around at what they were doing, it wasn't that they were more technical than me. It wasn't that they were better programmers than me or better employees than me. It was because they were developing relationships that I wasn't creating. And it felt like politics. It felt like dirty, backstabbing, ugly, nasty politics. And I didn't understand it, and I didn't appreciate it. And it took me a long time, many years, 2 decades of my life to really start getting it, to really start understanding what it was that these folks were doing. And I'll tell you, it wasn't, in some cases, it was very schmoozy, very political, very kind of nasty, backhanded stuff. But in other cases, these were genuine folks who were getting a lot of stuff done and getting a lot of credit and making their careers absolutely invaluable at the places that they worked simply by creating relationships and by communicating with people. And when I noticed that these people were somehow getting into and becoming part of the elite inner circles, that I said, gosh, I want to do this. I want to figure out how to do this, how to do what they're doing. So what do I mean by elite inner circles? Well, in high school we called them cliques, right? In different organizations, you just see that kind of the popular or the powerful or the elite tend to all group together. They tend to all hang out. And that may be your boss and her peers. That may be just a group of people that transcend different levels. It may be a boss. It may be some of your peers. It may be some higher up executives. They tend to stick together, and they're all buddies, and they all hang out. They go to lunch all the time. They go to coffee all the time. They're constantly talking to each other, and sometimes talking to other people across the organization too. Not that they only talk to each other, but they're constantly hanging out, and they're constantly sharing ideas and providing each other feedback and supporting each other's careers. So how does a person who is on the outside of these scenarios break into those and become part of the group, right? Part of the inner circle that other people look up to, and other people say, "Wow, well, you are friends of the boss. You are an FOB. You're a friend of the boss, and what you say, you have a lot of impact. You have a lot of respect and authority here, even though you're not the boss." If you're a FOB, if you're a friend of the boss, you have a lot of authority around this department. You have a lot of authority around this company simply because everyone knows that you have the boss's ear. And so I wanted to learn how to do this, but here's my personal struggle. My personal struggle, if you don't know, is with social anxiety. Since I was a preteen and teenager, I've struggled in this area of being very, very embarrassed to share my voice, very embarrassed to talk out loud, very embarrassed to meet new people and to try to have conversations with people outside of my comfort zone. And when I say outside of my comfort zone, I mean there was only one sliver, a few instances in my life where I was comfortable, and that was at home, or that was with very, very close friends or very, very close family, to the point it was so bad that even in my own family reunions, I would not talk to aunts and uncles and grandparents. I would sit in the corner of the room, stand in the corner of the room, and observe and watch what was going on because I was too afraid of speaking up. I was too afraid of laughing and joking around. I was too afraid of being the authentic Chad that I am around other people, that people wouldn't get me, that they would think I was weird, that they would think I was a dork, that they would think I was a loser, that they would judge me. And I don't know. I've just always had this fear that if I stand off in the corner, I may look like a real creep. But at least I am going into that knowing that I kind of look a little bit creepy, but at least I'm not saying something stupid. And it's better to keep my mouth shut and everybody to think I'm an idiot than for me to speak up and prove them right. And that was a misconception. That was part of my anxiety that I've always had. And if you go to hellotechpros.com/141, episode 141, I talk all about that and how deep and dark that anxiety got throughout my life. But coming out of that, as I started to learn that I could share my voice, as I started to learn that I could create relationships, and it wasn't negative, like it wasn't as bad as I thought. I just needed more practice. I just needed more examples of creating friendships, of creating relationships, of starting to communicate, of sharing my ideas, of sharing other people's ideas. And through the course of doing that, my personal life excelled and my career excelled at the same time. Both of these areas took off simply because I was proactively starting to try to create relationships, try to create connections with people. And when I say relationships, guys, I don't mean something like dirty. Like, I'm not talking about trying to date people at work. I'm simply talking about small talk. I'm talking about just chit-chatting with people around the office, just creating conversations with people and going to lunch with people and not being the same three dudes that I constantly hang out with, but start to create relationships with other people within my department, outside of my department, at my peer level, across different levels of the organization into management. And then as I got into management, into, down at the intern level, just across the board, to start to try to create connections with people. And that's simply by understanding that we're all human and we all want connections and we all want something out of our career and we all want something good to think about and to look forward to when we're on the weekend, when we're going back to work the next week. And that may just be a simple, nice person in the office that's got a smile on their face and says, "Hey, how's it going? How was your weekend? What happened? You said you were going to that boat show. How was the boat show? What happened?" And just that little bit of small talk doesn't mean wasting hours and hours every day. Doesn't mean standing around the water cooler and not getting any work done, but just being a friendly person with a smile on your face and talking to folks about what's going on in their world inside of work and outside of work. That started to help develop my career. So, as I thought about, okay, now that I'm creating these connections, I still am not I'm not doing really well in some of the areas where I see I just have these random connections. But what I really want to do is break into these elite circles. Like if I could have my boss's ear. So, in corporate America, man, the management changes happen all the time, especially the bigger the company is. It seems like the more volatile the management chain is. And so managers are constantly moving in, moving out, moving up, moving on, whatever. And I was always in this place where I felt like I had to reprove myself over and over and over. Because every time I got a new boss, then that means I had to work really, really hard to show my boss that I knew what I was doing. And I had to put tons of effort in. And so we talked on Productivity Tuesday about how I was putting in more and more work to try to show how productive I could be, to show how much work I could output I could create. And to the point where I was becoming unproductive at times. And so I talked about that on Tuesday's episode. But really what I wanted to do was create some trust and some value and some relationships inside these inner circles so that it didn't matter who my boss was. There was just a core group of respected people across the organization that could then point back to me and say, "Hey, if you want somebody smart, you got to go get Chad. If you want a great idea, go get Chad. If you want a hard worker, go get Chad. If you want somebody who will tell you the truth and not BS you, go get Chad." And so I wanted to be known as someone with integrity, someone who was clever, someone who was hardworking, someone who was loyal. And I wanted to build my own personal brand of all these different attributes, but be recognized by people of influence, but be recognized by people of authority in the company. And for me, it felt really, really dirty and ugly and nasty and just kind of dirtbag-ishy, right? To try to do that without understanding exactly how to do it, how to go about doing it. Because when I think about promoting myself, honestly, all of my life, I felt like it was something dirty. Like if you were promoting yourself, if you were talking good about yourself, if you were like, "Hey, look at me," it just seemed kind of wormy and slimy and just nasty. And I don't know where I came up with this idea, but I saw a lot of other people doing it, and maybe it was jealousy on my part, but I thought, God, I don't want to look like that because that just looks nasty. But luckily for you, luckily for me, I have learned how to do that, how to break into the inner circles without looking like a dirtbag, and how to gain a lot of respect in the process. And so the biggest thing was actually a quote by Albert Einstein, and he said, "Try not to become a man of success, but rather to become a man of value." And to me, what I took away from that when I first heard that idea and I started practicing it was take your ego out of it, right? So when you think of, I want to be a successful person, you're thinking about your success, about yourself, about how you are perceived as an individual. And that can be an overinflated ego sense, or that can be an underinflated, deflated ego sense. But either way, you're thinking about yourself in a way that is really, it doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. And so if you flip that around and say, I want to become a person of value, that means you're valuable to other individuals. That means you are valuable, you are important, you are counted on, you are trusted by other individuals. So how do I do that? How do I become a person of value? Well, to me, it is about being helpful and being proactive and being authentic in what I'm trying to do. And that means, you know what? I don't know if the boss is going to actually give me a good performance review this year. I don't know if this inner circle is actually going to listen to my opinions or not and take my advice on things. But if I can at least be a person of value and help them out in their problems, it will increase the likelihood that they will turn to me when they need help, or they will include my suggestions in their decision-making things. So what can I do to be helpful? And then I want to do it in from a standpoint of authenticity. I don't want to be a liar. I don't want to come across as a person who's just out to help myself and say, hey, what can I do to help? And then they say, what I really need is XYZ. And that XYZ doesn't really fall into the things that I'm willing to help. And so I go, yeah, okay, never mind. And I go away and I don't offer my help, right? That's unauthentic. That's disingenuous. And I don't want to be somebody that I'm not. Like, I don't want to like pretend that I hate Star Wars and it's evil and it's nasty and everybody who watches it is complete idiots. No, dude, Star Wars rocks. If you don't like it, well, that's your own business. But I love it. It's amazing. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise. That would be disingenuous. That would be unauthentic. And then be proactive. So a key part of this relationship building, this learning how to communicate that I've learned is you can't always wait for someone to reach out to you. Like, I think a lot of people are waiting for an invitation to join the conversation. I know I have all my life been that person who would just wait and wait and wait. And I learned how to be extremely patient. It's one of my faults or one of my blessings. I don't know how you look at it, but I can be extremely patient because I can wait for years and for decades for an invitation to the party or an invitation to the conversation or an opportunity to get involved. The problem is that if you want to be successful, you can't wait. You have to be proactive. You have to step up, reach out your hand and say, hi, I'm Chad. What can I do to help? Hi, I'm Chad. I just overheard your conversation and I got just like a small tidbit to throw in here. Have you thought about XYZ? And so you have to be proactive when you're creating relationships. You have to be authentic and you have to be helpful. And then people know. They know who is the suck up and they know who's authentic and helpful, right? So you can tell, just think about it. The guys and girls who have approached you in the past that are trying to kiss up to you, or you have seen that is absolutely trying to kiss up to the boss or to the professor, to the whoever, everyone can smell them out in the room, right? Everyone can spot them exactly for who they are. But also think about the people that you've seen that are genuine, that are helpful, that are authentic, but are also proactive at the same time. And you can, I think if you think through a couple of different examples, you can really identify and think, okay, this person over here, they were authentic and genuine and helpful, and this person over here, they're just sucking up. So you can kind of determine that and see, what are some of the common attributes. So here are my tips on how to go across doing this. Okay, so here are some of the things that I think are great. I'm going to give you a couple of tips, and then we're going to take a break to thank the sponsors, and then come back and wrap it up with some more tips onto how to specifically break into the elite inner circles, right? So we want to be authentic, we want to be helpful, we want to be proactive, but how? How do we do that? Well, first of all, when we're talking about these inner circles, these groups of people, sometimes that can be overwhelming, right? We're thinking about our boss and our boss's boss and that one girl who's just a rock star that everybody looks up to, right? And so there's like 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 people that are all in this little knot, right? And if they're constantly going out to lunch together, how can I just walk up to the group when they're like, hi, table for 6 and I'm the 7th wheel, or they're a table for 4 and I'm the 5th wheel? For me, that's a little hard to do. It's still, honestly, it's still a little hard to do. So, what I like to do is try to break it up into individual real connections based on mutual respect. So instead of like, I'm trying to get into this inner circle, no, I'm trying to develop real, honest, individual connections with each individual or just some individuals in that group. And the first way to do that is just to be seen and to be heard, right? If you are a person like I was in the past, suffering with anxiety, whether you suffer from anxiety or not, of just a quiet, shy person who never speaks up, people are going to kind of forget that you're there, or they're going to know that you're there, but they're only going to know the one attribute of your job that's like assigned to you that they count on or that other people count on. They're not going to know all the great ideas that you have. They're not going to know all the great energy and the laughs that you can bring to a table. They're not going to know all the awesome aspects about yourself until you are out there and you're seen and you're heard. So you have to get over the sense of anxiety. You have to get over the sense of shyness. You have to get over the bashfulness. And you know what? That's a whole nother, dude, that's not just a whole nother episode. That's a whole course of how to get past those things. Because like I said, it's taken me years and years to get past some of that stuff. But you have to be seen and you have to be heard. That's step number one. We'll talk about the other steps in just a moment, but first we'll take a quick break and thank our sponsors. This episode of Hello Tech Pros is sponsored by Minio Cloud Storage. Minio is a cloud object storage server for developers and DevOps written in Go. The Go programming language is the emerging language of choice for modern cloud infrastructure projects, and it allows Minio to be highly concurrent and lightweight. Minio is Amazon S3 compatible, built with microstorage architecture in mind, but at its heart, Minio is simple, scalable, and supported by a passionate developer and user community. In episode 89 of Hello Tech Pros, I talked with A.B. Periasamy, one of the founders of Minio, about the importance of community support and recruiting software developers who are as passionate about their product's code as artists are of their art. Check out that episode at hellotechpros.com/89 and check out Minio Cloud Storage at minio.io. That's minio.io.
Are you new to podcasting? Are you looking for a fast, high-quality, yet budget-friendly podcast production team? Let TransSource Media take care of you. With a team of professional audio and video editors, writers, and graphic artists, they can help you build your podcast from planning, post-production, and platform submission. Using only cutting-edge software and studio equipment, they're here to make each and every show sound at its best. To get a free quote, please visit www.transsourcemedia.com or send them an email at marketing@transsourcemedia.com or call them at 209-505-5693. TransSource Media, transforming businesses through the power of multimedia.
Okay, we're back on People Friday talking about the best ways to break into the elite inner circles at work without looking like a complete dirtbag. And I forgot to tell you, you know what? This is a 7-day course, and if this is your first time tuning in, there's going to be homework at the end of this, and there are all 6 of the other episodes that you don't want to miss. So to sign up for the entire course and get access to all of the audio as well as to all of the notes and all of the action items and all of the homework that will actually help you move and get unstuck and put your career into hyperdrive, you're going to want to go to hellotechpros.com/career. That's hellotechpros.com/career and sign up for the course. Free, absolutely free, 7-day course to get access to all this information, all this content, all this homework. And you have to do the homework in order to make a difference, right? So if you're just listening and thinking about, is it going to help or is it not going to help? Well, it's not going to help if you don't do any work. So get access to the homework by going to hellotechpros.com/career and follow the homework, do the homework, and it's not hard. It's easy stuff, but it will actually help you make steps and make progress in this area of, in today's case, how to break into the elite inner circles without looking like a dirtbag. So before we left for the break, we were talking about, what you need to do to actually do this. So first of all, you have to be seen and heard. You got to get past the anxiety. You got to get past the fear. You got to get past the shyness and bashfulness and just be a person that's seen and heard around the office. Speak up in meetings. This doesn't mean act like a complete jerkwad where you're whatever, dancing on the tables, or you're shouting, or you're whatever. Not obnoxiously, but just be seen and heard. Just walk around in the halls. Hi, how you doing? Every morning, maybe make a tour of around your floor and be sure to say good morning to 5 or 6 different people. Every afternoon as you're going to lunch or as you're taking your break, stop by somebody's office, a different person every day, and say, hey, how's it going? What have you been working on today? Let me tell you what's going on in my world. What do you got plans for the weekend? Just be a person that's seen and heard. You can do this without wasting a lot of time. You can do this without being perceived as a person who's just trying to not get any work done, right? Because we talked about motivation, and on Productivity Tuesday, you can get a lot of stuff done and still be connected and not be stressing that you have to be at your desk for like 10 hours at a time. So be seen and be heard. Second of all, acknowledge that, all of these people in this elite inner circle, regardless of who they are, regardless of what title they have, regardless of what family they come from, regardless of how much money they make, or what kind of clothes that they wear, or what kind of music they listen to, or what kind of car they drive, or how big their office is, or whatever. Any of that stupid stuff doesn't matter. None of that material crap has anything to do with anything. Every single one of those individuals are human, actual human beings. I guarantee you none of them are robots. I guarantee you none of them are androids. They may be a mix of iPhone and Android people, and there might even be one old school BlackBerry guy, an old fat BlackBerry guy that's still got his BlackBerry and hasn't upgraded. Sorry, guys. But they are all human either way, and they have some of the same anxieties that you do. They have some of the same stressors that you do. It's just for whatever reason, life has put them in this situation where they are in this circle and they want to get things done and they want to solve problems and they want to deliver a lot of value to the business, right? And they want to be successful. They have the same desires as you. It's just they're in a different position right now, but you can get there. They don't have anything that you don't have. They have the exact, we're all born in the exact same potential. I don't believe that anybody is just naturally going to fit in and other people are not. I think there's many times when people discount themselves and don't allow themselves to reach their fullest potential, and so they don't even try for it, like me. So acknowledge that they're human and then make the first move. We talked about proactivity earlier. Make the first move. Ask them out for coffee. Ask him out for lunch. Ask her to go for a walk. Ask them to hang out after the meeting or to meet before the meeting and just have conversations. Like I said before, walk up to their desk. Hey, how's it going? Just take 30 seconds of their time just to say good morning and just to say hello. You don't have to do this from a stalker mentality. Like, don't show up every hour on the hour and see if they need a cup of coffee. No, but just, every couple of days, hey, how's it going? How's your life? What have you been working on? How are things, And you can tell if somebody's really, really busy and they're giving you the brush off. Just take that brush off as right now and today, this part of their life, this part of their career, it's not me, it's them. They're too busy. But someday it'll be okay. So I'm gonna be consistent. We'll talk about consistency in a minute, but just be proactive. Make the first move and say hello and ask them if they want to talk. Second of all, once you do get their attention, or maybe this is third or fourth, I've lost count on what number we're on. But once you do get their attention and you actually start to talk about real work stuff here, because this is what's gonna kill it or crush it, right? You can't just talk about the weather or just talk about the hobbies or the weekend or what's going on in the sports world, right? You got to get down to brass tacks. You got to get down to actual business stuff. And that means if you want to make a big difference, you have to approach them with solutions, not problems. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of people who look to upper management and want to complain about stuff and say, hey, did you know that every day at 2:00, after the lunchtime rush, like all of the paper towels in the men's room disappear. Like all of them are gone at 2:00 in the afternoon, and we never have any paper towels. So I just want to let you know that. So I'm dropping a to-do off at your desk. Thanks, bye. Man, that's awesome. I mean, that you're making people aware of that, but it also sucks that you're not actually solving it. So what could you do? Is there a cleaning service company that works in your building? Maybe you could talk to the men and women who work in that department. Say, hey, do you mind, like, maybe at 1:00 every day or 2:30 every day coming by the men's room and like restocking the paper, because we seem to be running out of paper a lot. Or do you mind leaving an extra roll or two of paper to wipe our hands when we wash our hands? Because after lunch, man, everybody's taking care of business and they're washing their hands and all the paper's disappearing. Is there something you can do? Or even take care of it yourself. If it's a community room, like go find the paper products and restock, and just drop by somebody's office and say, hey, did you notice that every day? Did you notice this? Or was it just me? Am I the only one that noticed this? Well, not to worry, because I decided that, you know what, when I see it, I'm just going to take care of it and I'm going to restock the paper. I mean, that's a little trivial, inconsequential thing. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But when you approach a manager, when you approach a boss, when you approach a supervisor with some little nitpicky thing that's not going to make a huge shift in the revenue of the company or a huge positive impact on the company, and you're just dropping another problem off at their desk, they're thinking, great, now that's number 1,622 things on my to-do list that I need to worry about is the dadgum freaking paper towels in the men's room, as if I didn't have better things to do, right? So just be that person that says, hey, by the way, there was an issue or potential issue or just a hassle. I thought it was a hassle. Maybe nobody else cares, but I took care of it, FYI. And they're going to be like, wow, that's awesome. Thanks, Chad. I'm a lady, and I had no idea that you guys were running out of paper. So yeah, that sounds great. Thanks for taking care of it. Or they're going to be like, oh my gosh, no kidding. I am so ticked off. Every time I go in there right after lunch, like it's gone. I go in there 3:00 in the afternoon, there's no paper towels, right? And they're going to be just as annoyed as you. But when you take action and be proactive and get things done, they're going to see you as a solution provider, not a problem provider. And once you get their attention and you can start talking to them about real business problems, because really the paper towels it's not a business problem. You need to find out what it is that they need. Everybody's looking for something. Everybody's looking for answers or solutions or information. Some people are looking for feedback and want people to be honest or provide a different perspective. Some people are just looking for a little distraction, just a 10-minute distraction to get away from whatever's their stressor. And when you're interacting with people, just kind of look for little subtle things, either things that they're saying or things they're not saying about what they're looking for. Or if you know the kind of projects they're working on and the kind of tasks that they're being tasked with by their boss, what can you do to provide some of that for them? Maybe it's just support. Maybe it's just, hey, I know you've been crushing it and you've been here, like you're the last person to leave. And I keep saying boss all the time, but it doesn't have to be a boss. It could be absolutely a peer, but a peer that's just in the situation. You know what? You are putting in more hours than anybody else. Do you know about these productivity tips that I have? Do you know about the 80-20 rule, right? Have you listened to Productivity Tuesday on Hello Tech Pros? Provide some solutions to people and some support to people, and not just criticism or not just problems. Third, fourth, fifth, gosh, I am just destroying these numbers now. I have no idea where we're at. So I'm just going to keep saying third from now on out. Third of all, be your genuine self. I've said it before earlier on. Be genuine, be authentic. Don't try to be somebody you're not, right? There's that episode of The Office a while back, the American version of The Office, where like the intern got promoted up to the branch manager, and as soon as he did, like the one of the older gentlemen in the office, he like sprayed his hair completely black, and he started riding a skateboard to work. It's like, dude, that's not you. Yeah, you are not being genuine. Don't be that guy. Do not be that guy who's trying to be hip and happening and try to fit into the group by being something you're not. Be genuine and be accessible. So when other people are reaching out to you, you know what? At the same time as you start putting yourself out there, other people are going to see you as a person who's out there and trying to network and trying to create social interactions. And sometimes it's going to be people inside of this group that you're looking up to. Other times it may be someone who perceives you as already connected to this group or perceives you as just another person to connect to. And they're going to be reaching out and they're going to say, hey, do you got time for a cup of coffee? Or, hey, can you chat with me about my code? Or can you look at this and that? Or how was your weekend? And if you blow off everybody else and you only focus on your manager and your manager's manager, or you only focus on the people who are straight shooters with upper management written all over them, and you blow off everyone else, then you are disingenuous and you do look like a dirtbag. So don't do that. Just be accessible across the organization. That doesn't mean waste time with everyone. And when you're making your rounds, stop at every single desk and have a 10-minute conversation with 50 people on the floor. No, you just wasted all day. But when people reach out to you, be open and say, hey, how's it going? And talk to them. Be accessible by people. And third of all, for the 50th time, be consistent and be patient. You know, relationship building, regardless of what position you're in, whether it's at work or at home or at play, it takes time and it takes consistency. This is a big lesson that I actually learned from my wife. She kind of reiterated very, very recently about developing friendships after we've moved from Oklahoma to Florida, is if I am inaccessible and I am not consistent, then it's going to be really, really difficult for me to develop friendships, right? So, for instance, if someone invites us out to dinner and we say, no, we can't, I'm sorry, we have plans, you know, my daughter's doing something or Chad has a meeting or whatever, then we should immediately turn that around and ask them to do something soon, right? And be accessible again and be proactive and reach out. If we are consistently inaccessible, oh, well, they're going to say, oh, Chad's too busy. He's never there. Chad's family is, it's never a good time for them. So they're going to stop asking. They're going to stop reaching out. So you have to be accessible, and then you have to be consistent. Consistently reach out. This is not something you're going to try for a day, and if it doesn't work on Friday, then next week just forget it. No, it's going to be today and next week and the week after that and next quarter and next year, and these relationships are going to take time. This is not an easy thing. This is not a quick win where 30 minutes from now you're going to be your boss's BFF. This is going to be your slowly across the organization, across this inner circle, slowly or at different rates, building individual relationships with individual people. And before long, when you're consistent, if you're being proactive, if you're being a genuine, nice, helpful person, if you're bringing great ideas and bringing solutions and bringing other people's solutions and not just your own, if you're seen as a person who is a go-getter and proactive, and you are talking about the productivity tips that you learned on Tuesday, you are being a leader even though you're not a manager, if you are highly motivated, all these things that we talked about throughout the other 4 episodes of this course, man, you're going to be one of those persons that inner group is looking for. They're constantly looking for, like, who else can we add to this group? Who else can we garner some insight or some ideas from? And as long as you're consistent in all of these areas, then your name is going to come up. And pretty soon there's going to be like a time where, you know what, whoever is out sick, they're too busy, and they're going to go, oh man, we don't have a 4th for our table of 4. Hey, Chad, you want to come? Hey, Mary, you want to come? And things are going to open up for you. but it's not about going to lunch. It's not about being that person who gets to sit in that office. It's really about developing these connections that are going to help your career, but more importantly, you can help theirs. You can help the organization. And again, take it back to that Albert Einstein quote, try not to become a man of success or a person of success. Try not to become a person of success, but rather become a person of value. If you aim for that, if you shoot for that, and you're proactive and you're authentic and you're genuine and you're helpful and you treat everybody as if they're equals and they're not superiors and they're just, you know what, we're all in this to win it together. We're all in this to solve the company's problems or to provide so much value to the customer. And you do it with just you're genuine, excuse me, you're genuine in that aspect, and be consistent and be patient. You will develop connections. You will develop friendships, really genuine friendships with these folks. And then sooner or later, somebody's going to come up to you and say, how on earth did you do it? You have become a fob. You have become a friend of the boss. You have become a friend of the architect. You have become a friend of the CTO. You have become a friend of the whatever. You're constantly in these meetings. You're the one that's being drug into the spontaneous meetings and the whiteboarding sessions and the idea generating sessions and the strategy sessions and everything else, because you are respected by not just the group as a whole, but as individuals. Individuals really, really respect you. And that's what it's all about for me here on People Friday. So your homework is go to hellotechpros.com/career and get access to all of the homework. And there I will guide you on what to do today, what to do tomorrow, what to do next week, and who to start building relationships with and how to go about doing it. Tomorrow is Entrepreneurship Saturday, and it's going to be so awesome. First of all, congratulations for making it through the 5 days of the work week. But you're a go-getter. You don't want to just stop at the work week. You want to even think about how to build your career throughout the weekend, right? This stuff's important. If it's important to you, then you're going to be putting in some time past your 9 to 5, right? Your career doesn't start at 9 o'clock in the morning and it doesn't end at 5 o'clock in the evening, and it doesn't start on Monday and end on Friday. Your career is yours to own, and some of this can happen any time of the week. So tomorrow we're going to come back and talk about how to start an innovation revolution at work. How to start an innovation revolution at work without getting fired. That's pretty key, right? You don't want to be Jerry Maguire. You don't want to be that guy that's walking out and taking the fish with him. You want to start an innovation revolution, but you want to do so with a lot of respect, with a lot of, oh, wow, yeah, let's get on this. Let's do this. Tomorrow we're going to talk about that. And until next time, take care. The show notes page for this episode can be found at hellotechpros.com/187. Do you use Slack for team communication? Join the Hello Tech Pros Slack channel at hellotechpros.com/Slack. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, subscribe to this channel, and check back tomorrow. This has been People Friday, but tomorrow my featured guest and I discuss entrepreneurship. On Sunday, being unplugged. Monday, motivation. Tuesday, productivity. Wednesday, leadership. Thursday, technology. And then back again on Friday to talk people and communication. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.